The narrative begins with our shy MC who peeks from behind the wall as Yukihira-san walks down the road. Hoping to accidentally bump into her and walk together, he gathers courage, but just then, another girl, Miyahara, steps into his path. She greets Arima with a bright smile and asks if they can walk together. He awkwardly agrees, hiding his disappointment. She pulls out a strange ball and urges him to take it. He refuses, teasing her for being childish and joking about her immature image. Before he can say more, Yukihira walks up behind them. Maya-chan cheerfully greets her, and Arima tenses up. She responds with a calm good morning, then surprisingly greets Arima-kun too. Startled, he nervously returns the greeting, still processing her words. Miyahara casually announces she's walking with Yuki, waves goodbye to him, and the two girls head off, leaving him standing alone. As he stares after them, his heart sinks. It should have been him walking with Yukihira-san. While the girls chat quietly about him as they go. Later in school, he sighs while picking up scattered papers for a teacher, annoyed at his bad luck. Then, unexpectedly, Yukihira offers him a hand. Nervous but quietly thrilled, Arima feels it might be the one good thing today. As they pick up the papers, she remarks on how often he helps the teacher and gently calls him kind. It's the first time anyone, especially Yukihira, has spoken to him like that. Miyahara points out a dropped paper, and he quickly picks it up. In Class 1B, two students talk about an amazing news. Arima, lost in thought, admires how lovely Yukihira is, wishing he could talk to her alone. Instead of her, Miyahara turns and shouts his name, curious about the flavor of crayfish. Arima, perplexed, questions crayfish. She reveals she encountered one today, as massive as a lobster. He thinks the topic is ridiculous and assumes Yukihira prefers more refined conversations. But to his surprise, she joins in, saying crayfish should be washed well since they come from the mud. Miyahara refuses to eat muddy fish. Arima turns to Yukihira and tells her to ignore such childish talk. He sees Yukihira as calm and mature. Meanwhile, Miyahara cheerfully offers to show them the crayfish she spotted earlier, suggesting they catch it together on the way home. Arima finds it childish and refuses, reminding her that he's a middle school student now. Miyahara insists they can still catch one anytime. He reluctantly agrees, and she suddenly flips gears and says she's busy. Yukihira comments that they seem close, but Arima quickly denies it, saying she's misunderstood. He then tells Miyahara he won't walk home with her. Left alone in library, he ponders on his plan to walk home with Yukihira is ruined, but he still wants to make it happen with the perfect plan brewing in his mind. He imagines walking home together, telling her he's good at cooking crayfish, making her smile as they share stories. But in reality, he sits alone waiting for her. He glances toward the entrance, waiting for her arrival. Suddenly, he hears footsteps. It's not Yukihira. Surprised, he asks why Miyahara is still there. She says they can walk home together and adds that Yukihira went to the dentist, so she's finished her club duties. When she asks why he's still around, he states that he was talking to friends, but she cuts in, "Where are you waiting for me?" He starts to deny it, but before he can finish, he grabs his hand and leads him away, noting his unusual behavior. With a blushed face, he asks if they can walk home together and she agrees. She confidently mentions his promise to catch the crayfish they talked about earlier. He denies it, but she points out he never refused either. He insists he doesn't remember such a promise. She smiles and points out that since they're talking about it, he might as well come with her. He firmly replies, no. The next day at school, Yukihira calls out to Arima and gently points out that his collar is crooked. She offers to fix it for him. Taken aback by her kindness, he thinks to himself how angelic she looks. He shyly admits that there's a bit of rice stuck on her collar instead. Flustered, she quickly asks if it's noticeable, joking that her uniform must be hungry. He finds her incredibly cute, but before he can respond, she walks straight into the wall, ignoring his warning. Concerned, he checks if she's all right, and she nods, insisting she's fine. Blushing, she turns away and quietly tells him not to talk to anyone about the incident. He asks if she's okay, and as he watches her, he's struck by how kind and mature she seems, yet is clumsy, like a lovable goofball. That's exactly why he loves her. But he realizes something. If he wants to help her, she'll have to stay a little clumsy. That way, he can be there for her. He imagines her thanking him, admiring him as her role model. Lost in that thought, he keeps blushing quietly to himself. He cleverly begins to scheme. Watching her closely, he waits for her to do something clumsy so he can rush in to help. That's his new mission. It feels just right. Quietly, he keeps his eyes on her and starts following her around. Soon enough, he sees her slip and fall in the hallway. He quickly runs to her side and asks if she's okay. She nods and smiles gently. She assures him she's fine, explaining she didn't notice the wet floor and slipped, but thanks him for his concern. He tries to stay calm, brushing off the thanks. Then she looks down nervously, wondering if her skirt got wet. As he watches her, he wonders if a simple thank you is really enough after helping her. She glances again at the wet floor, realizing someone else might slip if it's left unattended, and decides to clean it up. He quickly offers to help, surprising her. She asks if he really wants to join, and he confirms. Together, they begin wiping the hallway. While they work, he quietly admires her kindness, noting how she always thinks of others. He tells her she's really kind, feeling that everything is going perfectly today without any distraction. He's genuinely happy. Suddenly, the classroom door swings open. The distraction arrives, asking what's going on. Yuki explains that since the floor is wet, they're cleaning to prevent anyone else from slipping. He warns her gently to be careful and step aside, but she ignores him and continues playing around, inevitably slipping. Yukihira immediately rushes over to check if Miyahara is okay. He sighs, reminding her to be careful, then offers his hand to help her up. Miyahara thanks him, and he blushes, suddenly feeling uneasy. Inside, he panics, thinking he's ruined everything. He had reached out to help Miyahara so quickly, without a moment's hesitation, that Yukihira might easily misunderstand. Later, Arima is cleaning the board in class when Miyahara enters and greets him. She asks how her hair looks, telling him she's trying to grow it out. He immediately recognizes the style as Yukihira's and scolds her for being childish. Just then, Yuki turns around, revealing her real, beautiful hair. Miyahara admires it but admits she still prefers her own short style. As Yukihira flicks her hair back, he silently thinks about how pretty she looks while doing it. He notices how nice her hair smells. Miyahara then turns to him and asks if he wants to try it. He looks confused, but she steps behind him and positions herself so it appears the bun is sitting on his head. He's not a fan of the joke until he notices Yukihira laughing, so he believes maybe it's not so bad after all. He reflects that it's not just her hair that smells nice. Her natural scent is also very attractive and probably draws other boys in too. He imagines her reaction if he smells nice too. That evening, he buys something instead of perfume. Still, since he already has it, he declares to himself that Operation Smell has officially begun. The next day, he puts on something before class and waits eagerly for Yukihira to arrive. But as usual, Miyahara enters the room, walks straight over to him, and starts sniffing in an oddly curious way. After a moment, she comments on how good he smells. He grows nervous. He had hoped Yukihira would be the first to notice. Just then, she walks in, and Miyahara immediately announces that he's wearing perfume. Panicking, he denies it, claiming it's just hand cream for his dry hands. Deep down, he worries that if they think it's perfume, they'll assume he's trying to be popular. As he's still thinking about it, Yuki grabs his hand, smells it, and shyly says it really does smell good. In his heart, he thanks the hand cream and reflects, this is the perfect chance to start Operation Second Chance. He agrees about the scent, but mentions that he wanted something with a scent that isn't too strong. That's why he should give it to someone else. Miyahara takes the cream from him and thanks him. Caught in confusion, he ponders that it isn't meant for her. But she beams and promises to take care of it, and then turns to Yuki, asking if she wants to use it. She refuses, so Miyahara uses it herself but squeezes too much and ends up sharing. Miyahara, gasping, enters the classroom and calls Arima for help. He asks if she's frozen in her game again. She replies that it's not like that. Her mom said if she doesn't score good marks in the midterms, she'll take her game away. He asks in surprise if that's an emergency. Arima, thinking cleverly, sees this as an opportunity. He asks if she believes in her study skills. She says no, so he suggests they do group study after school. She looks surprised and asks, a group? Then agrees, saying, okay. He says that it's just the two of them, it'll feel too empty. She replies that she'll invite Yuki too. Arima thinks to himself that it's perfect, this is exactly what he wanted. After school, they begin group study. Arima tells them if they face any difficulty, they should ask him. Deep inside, he waits for Yukihira to ask something so he can impress her with his study skills. Instead, Miyahara asks Arima to explain how to solve a fraction. He explains that it should be solved like the example. She hugs him from behind and asks where the plus came from. Arima thinks to himself that he didn't want her to come this close. She says she doesn't understand where the negative number is coming from. Then Yukihira explains that she should think of the negative value as a debt. If you give someone money, your money decreases while theirs increases. Miyahara says now she understands. Arima thinks to himself that he wanted to look smart, but it didn't work. Yukihira is so smart and amazing. He raises his hand. Miyahara asks what happened. He says he has a question for Yukihira-senpai. She gets flustered. He clarifies that he means she's good at all subjects, right? She thinks it's a little embarrassing. Arima says now it's time to start operation. A Doki Doki Studies Session Betwek 33 coin teacher and student. Miyahara excitedly says she'll be the teacher. Arima thinks he'll impress Yukihira by giving all the correct answers. Yukihira suggests to take a quiz. Arima answers all the questions correctly. Both Miyahara and Yukihira are impressed. Arima thinks now it's time for his special move. He asks them to reward him for his hard work. Yukihira gives him a pencil eraser. He's shocked. She states that she doesn't have anything else to give at the moment. He replies that he's happy. Because it came from her, it's enough. Miyahara says she'll give him something better. She pats him on the head. Now they just have to wait for the exams. In the exams, Yuki scores 100, Miyahara gets 71, and Arima scores 86. He tells Miyahara that now no one will take her games away. He thinks to himself that he almost got 90. But Yuki got 100. She really is amazing. Miyahara comes to him, thanks him, and mentions she studied like this for the first time. Now her mom will be happy. But she got 39 in Japanese. Arima jokes that maybe her games will still be taken away. When Arima arrives home, a voice from the room reminds him to wash his face. While washing, he thinks to himself that he's never going to teach them again. His marks weren't even that good. He tried very hard to get Yukihira's attention. He just wants her to like him too. He decides to make one last attempt. Now it's time to use the big guns. It seems simple, but he has never used it before. Still, he decides to give it a try. Operation Makeover begins. The next day at school, he gets ready and sits in class, waiting. Yukihira walks in and greets him with a good morning. He replies the same. She stares at him for a moment but says nothing. He becomes confused. She steps in closer, noticing something off about his hair, suggests him to fix it. He adjusts a few strands, then reveals that he used wax. She apologizes, but he assures him it's fine. He can't help but think she just confirmed his hair looked bad. Still, the way she helps so naturally makes him feel grateful. You're really nice, Yukihira-san, he thinks. I probably look ridiculous right now. Just then, a voice calls out from behind. He turns to find Miyahara approaching, asking what he's up to and telling him it's time to head to class. He braces himself, half expecting her to make fun of his hair. But instead, she pauses, studies him for a moment, and says he looks good today. His heart sinks a little. That wasn't the compliment he wanted, he thinks. He didn't try this for her. Trying to hide his disappointment, he murmurs a thank you, then asks if she can fix it. She beams and says to leave it to her. A few moments later, she styled his hair into something strange and dramatic, then declares he looks amazing. He stares at his reflection, unimpressed. This definitely isn't what he was expecting. Arima watches a video on his phone of a man playing the piano, completely captivated by how cool he looks. Inspired, he decides he'll learn to play too, imagining himself and Yukihira sharing a romantic duet. Fueled by excitement, he rushes to tell his mother he's going to buy a piano. She asks if he even knows how much one costs. Reality sinks in. With no other option, he digs out the old melodica from his primary school days. Not exactly the grand start he pictured, but he convinces himself it's better to begin small. Operation Romantic Dude at the piano may be on hold, but his spirits are high. He's ready to give it everything he's got. He's determined to give it his all and make it a success. Arima keeps practicing, and with each attempt, his confidence grows. Eventually, he feels ready. It's finally time to launch the operation. At school, he gets permission and steps into the music room to play. Just as he starts, Miyahara and Yukihira walk in. Curious, they ask if he can really play and if they can listen. Nervously, he agrees. The classroom buzzes with anticipation as students gather around. Feeling the pressure, he focuses on one thought. Yukihira is watching. He has to play. But the performance falls apart. The notes clash, the melody is lost, and nothing sounds right. The room falls silent. Miyahara frowns and remarks that it wasn't good. Yukihira's expression shows disappointment, and the rest of the students quietly slip out. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, Arima admits to himself that he failed. Miyahara tries to reassure him, saying that even though it was terrible, at least he gave it a shot. He sighs, realizing he was just too nervous. Miyahara turns to Yukihira and suggests she give it a try. Arima, surprised, asks if she knows how to play. Without a word, Yukihira sits beside him and begins to demonstrate Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, pressing each key gently with a single finger. Her calm guidance makes it easy to follow. Arima nods, saying he gets it, and suggests they play together. As they begin, he wonders if this is the romantic duet he had dreamed of. But reality quickly sinks in. Yukihira's playing is smooth and graceful, far beyond his own clumsy effort. Just then, Miyahara bursts back into the room, excited to join in. The three of them start playing together, filling the room with laughter and uneven melodies. Afterward, they walk out of the music room. Miyahara stretches and says it was so much fun. Yukihira smiles and agrees, calling it a wonderful moment. Arima walks beside them, unsure of how to feel. The moment was warm and lively, but not quite what he had imagined. Miyahara suggests playing again another day. Arima agrees, but deep down, he knows she's not the reason he's trying. He quietly vows to practice harder and keep going, no matter what. Arima stands in the library, reminding himself that today is Yukihira's library duty, so she must still be at school. He's determined not to mess up this time and hopes Miyahara has already gone home. In his mind, he pictures the perfect moment. Yukihira asking if they can walk home together, maybe even saying "I love you." He proudly names the plan, leaving school confidently with Yukihira-san. Part 2. Lost in thought, he heads toward the shoe rack and picks up a shoe, checking to make sure it doesn't belong to Miyahara. Just then, Yukihira appears and asks what he's doing. Panic floods his mind. This might be his biggest mistake yet. But instead of questioning further, Yukihira laughs and playfully suggests he's checking for bugs. Then, with a smile, she calls him kind for doing so. Arima feels the moment is perfect. He should ask Yukihira if they can walk home together, but the words stick in his throat. Noticing his hesitation, Yukihira gently asks if something's wrong. He forces a smile and mutters that it's nothing. Then, to his surprise, she's the one who asks if they should walk home together. His heart races. Finally, he thinks today is the day. But before he can say anything more, Miyahara suddenly appears. Both of them turn to her, surprised, and ask what she's doing there. She explains she forgot something and heads toward the classroom. Arima quickly calculates the moment. If Miyahara is going that way, then maybe he and Yukihira can quietly slip out now. He turns to her and asks if they should go. Yuki looks at him and replies, asking if he wants to leave now. Just as they're about to leave, Miyahara returns and asks if they were waiting for her. Before Arima can respond, Yukihira smiles and says, "Let's all walk home together." He sighs inwardly. He had his chance today, but Miyahara returns. As they walk, Yukihira asks what Miyahara has forgotten. She replies it was the hand cream Arima gave her. Arima, surprised, asks if she really came back just for that. She nods, saying it's precious to her. He tells her to be more careful next time. She grins and replies that even important things can be forgotten sometimes. Later, Miyahara asks Yuki if she's tried the Smash Flower game yet, saying it's really fun. Arima listens quietly. Yuki responds that these fighting games aren't his style. She's not good at games either. Miyahara suggests they play at Arima's house. Surprised, he asks why. She explains she only has one remote while he has 3. Realizing this means Yukihira-san will visit his house, he quickly agrees. At home, Arima starts cleaning, prompting his sister to ask why. He explains his friends are coming over, then asks why she didn't go shopping with their parents. She admits feeling uneasy, so she plans to play games. Arima reminds her he made plans first, and they argue over who gets the space, just as his friends arrive. Miyahara gets excited when she sees Fuka-chan. She notes there's someone else too. She introduces herself as Yukihira. Fuka smiles, responding warmly that she's Arima's little sister, welcomes her, and invites them inside. Everyone gathers to play games and enjoy snacks. Yukihira finds it to be fun. Arima sees this as his chance. If they play in teams of 2, he hopes to pair with Yukihira-san, planning to impress her by protecting her in the game. He suggests they switch to team play. But before he can act, Miyahara jumps in and demands, "Arima, be on my team. If our powers combine, it'll be fun." Arima silently sighs, thinking this isn't what he had hoped for. Arima asks if he can team up with Yukihira, but Miyahara quickly responds, saying he only wants to win. Yukihira adds that her last win was just luck. Fuka tells him not to be so mean. Arima insists that's not why he asked. Miyahara, with dramatic emotion, convinces him to stay on her team. He gives in. As they play, Mia nearly loses and blames Arima for distracting her. He tells her it's time to play seriously. Soon, the two begin bickering. Miyahara insists she wants to fight too, but Arima calls her a supporting character. Yukihira looks puzzled, but Fuka comments they always act like this. The scene transitions to Arima and Miyahara's childhood. They argue in the playground about whether to play hide and seek or tag. Unable to agree, they turn to Fuka for a decision. She suggests they play Dango Store instead. Arima looks puzzled, but Miyahara, knowing Fu-chan loves Dango, eagerly agrees and invites her to make some. Arima, unsure, asks about his role. Mia makes him the customer. He walks over, and Fuka cheerfully asks if he's hungry. He nods eagerly. She begins shaping a pretend dango and proudly presents it to him. He compliments her effort, and Miyahara, overhearing, suddenly turns serious. Arima urges her to hurry, reminding her he's starving. Meanwhile, the brother and sister continue their game. After carefully rolling the pretend treat, it crumbles just before she can hand it to him. Disheartened, she starts to sob, upset that it didn't turn out as she hoped. Arima gently reassures her, saying it's okay, and asks for a piece anyway so they can share it. They each take a piece, and Fuka quickly asks where hers is. Miyahara tells her not to worry. It's her turn to be the customer, and she'll make one just for her. In class, Miyahara sits with her head down when Yukihira walks in and gently pokes her cheeks. Arima enters shortly after and cheerfully greets everyone with a good morning. Watching Yukihira with Miyahara, he feels a twinge of jealousy. He thinks it's unfair that Mia got poked by Yuki. He wishes it were him instead. When Miyahara finally lifts her head and greets him back, he makes up his mind. After the break, he'll give it a try too. In his head, he names it Operation Get Poked During Sleep to get closer to Yukihira-san. After the next class, he sits with his head down again. His classmates call out to him, but he doesn't respond. He thinks Yuki hasn't poked him yet. If he stays like this, maybe Miyahara will come instead. And if she does, then Yukihira will definitely join in too, so it's fine either way. Just then, someone quietly approaches him. He wonders if it's Miyahara. A soft touch lands on his cheek, and he smiles to himself, thinking how gentle she is, but suddenly, the soft touch turns into a sharp pinch that makes him flinch. He lifts his head, wincing in pain. It really hurt. Yukihira stands nearby and greets him cheerfully with a good morning. Arima immediately feels embarrassed. Yukihira saw everything. He regrets not waiting a little longer. His carefully planned operation feels like a failure. Still, at least she acknowledged him. He turns to Miyahara and complains that she didn't have to pinch him so hard. She asks if it really hurt that much, then casually tells him to poke her back. Arima is confused and hesitant, but she insists, saying her cheeks are soft. Yukihira agrees, encouraging him too. Despite his hesitation, Miyahara pushes him to try, telling him not to be so shy. Slowly, Arima reaches out and finally touches her cheeks. After that, both girls walk away. Arima watches them leave and quietly thinks to himself that he never intended it to be Miyahara. As they walk off, Yukihira recalls that they were going on a field trip. Early in the morning, Miyahara walks to school. She spots a small cat near the sidewalk. Curious but slightly annoyed, she approaches and scares it off, watching as it runs away. She pauses, puzzled, wondering why the kitten is near her house. It's not one she recognizes. From the opposite direction, a fluffy dog appears, walking calmly beside its owner. The sight instantly brightens Maya's face. She greets the girl with a cheerful good morning and asks if she can pet the dog. The girl nods with a smile. Miyahara thanks her, strokes the dog gently, and then continues on her way. Crossing a nearby bridge, she notices a crayfish in the shallow stream below. Its sudden appearance delights her, and she briefly wonders what it might taste like. Along the path, she picks a round flower before heading on. Soon she spots Amira and greets her warmly, asking if they can walk together. Quietly, Yukihira stands just behind her. Arima stands inside the coffee shop, imagining how nice it would be to bring Yuki here on a date someday. For now, he decides to practice. This is Operation Successful Date. He walks to the counter and orders an iced coffee. When asked about the size, he panics and just chooses the last one. The moment his order arrives, regret sets in. He bought the largest one, assuming it to be the small one. Still, he tries to stay optimistic. Maybe drinking more coffee will help him express himself better, enough to speak clearly when the real moment comes. Determined, he turns to check the rest of the menu. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out his name. It's Yukihira-san. She waves and tells him they came to do some shopping. Arima turns, startled and even more surprised when he notices someone else standing beside her. His thoughts spiral in confusion as he stares at the unfamiliar boy. Who is this? Why has she never mentioned him before? Is this her boyfriend? Before Arima can ask, the boy speaks up and introduces himself as Rin, Yuki's sister. A wave of relief washes over Arima. As they settle down at the table, Rin smirks and asks if Arima thought he was Yuki's boyfriend. Embarrassed, he admits he did. Yukihira laughs and explains that Rin is a university student and she's only interested in people older than her. Rin glances at the oversized coffee cup in Arima's hand and raises an eyebrow, asking if it isn't too big for him or if he just really likes coffee. Then, turning to his sister, he teases that she only likes sweet lattes. Yuki rolls her eyes and insists she can drink regular coffee too. Smiling, Arima holds out his cup and offers her a sip. Arima wonders if Yuki will actually try his coffee. To his surprise, she takes a small sip and casually remarks, "It just tastes like coffee." Rin immediately teases her, accusing her of pretending and saying she doesn't look cute at all. Arima can't help but laugh, joining in on the joke. Annoyed, Yuki turns to Arima. "Are you laughing too?" she demands. He quickly tries to recover, saying the coffee tasted better before. Irritated, she gets up and walks off to wash her hands. Watching her go, Rin chuckles and says she only teased her because Rhea looked cute just now. Arima blushes and agrees before he can stop himself. Then Rin leans closer and teases him, saying she thinks he has a crush on her sister. With a mischievous smile, Rin tells Arima not to worry, he's cute too, and promises to support him. When Rai returns and asks what they were talking about, Rin wastes no time and says, "Arima was just saying you're cute." He freezes, face red with embarrassment, stumbling over his words and wondering what Yuki must be thinking. Trying to steer the conversation away, Rin changes the subject, commenting that Rai has a childish taste. Rai fires back, insisting she's not a child and that she can handle coffee. Rin only laughs and says that middle schoolers are adorable. She teases them all the time. Then, with a wink, she offers to treat both of them. Rai orders a strawberry cake and coffee. Arima looks confused, but Rin laughs and clarifies he meant to treat them, not make her choose coffee again. The next day at school, Arima locks hands with a classmate for a hand wrestling match. With a swift push, he wins easily. Both girls nearby watch in surprise, clearly impressed. Yukihira smiles, acknowledging his strength. Internally, Arima throws his fists into the air in silent celebration. Operation Bulk Up is a success. All the secret training in his dad's home gym has finally paid off. Yukihira blushes, visibly impressed, while Miyahara suddenly recounts the time Arima lost to her in arm wrestling and bursts into tears. He turns red, quickly pointing out that it happened back in preschool. Yukihira simply smiles, finding it cute. Ignoring the teasing, he refocuses on his goal, impressing Yukihira-san. Determined, he accepts a new challenge from his confident classmate, Urano. As they lock hands, both girls watch closely, excited to see who wins this time. They cheer for Arima-kun. Meanwhile, Urano looks forward with a serious, focused look, surprising Arima with his behavior. Urano, feeling jealous that both girls always cheer for Arima, tightens his grip. As the match begins, tension rises. Urano plays stronger than expected, catching Arima off guard, who begins to worry. If he loses, they might think he's weak, and then he'll never become popular. Everyone around watches, drawn in by the intensity between the two boys. He tries to end the match quickly. Miyahara watches silently, thinking he might be losing. Seeing her expression, Arima glances her way and silently assures her that it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses. She gently tells him not to look so sad. Her words bring him back to focus. With renewed strength, Arima pushes back and wins the match. Turning to Miyahara, he smiles, looking for her reaction. She claps and praises his victory. Yukihira smiles too, complimenting both boys for their strength. Arima thanks her, feeling proud. But Miyahara teases him, saying he must have started training after losing to her. Annoyed, he quickly denies it. Silently, he wonders why she always has to bring that up. He reminds himself that all this effort isn't for her. He's doing it for Yukihira-san. After school, the two girls walk home together. Arima bids goodbye to his friends and is about to leave when he notices Miyahara staring up at a utility pole. Curious, he wonders what she's doing. As he approaches, he asks if she's practicing jumping. Miyahara quickly shakes her head. She's been spinning a new keychain around her finger, but it slipped and landed on top of the pole. Annoyed, Arima scolds her for always doing childish things, then steps forward and tells her to move aside. He'll handle it. Confident it'll be easy, he tries several times to retrieve the keychain, but each attempt fails. Miyahara watches and asks what they should do now. Arima sighs and says he'll go home and come back with a stick. She waves off the idea. Instead, she says she'll just stand on his shoulders. He refuses immediately, but she insists, lifting her skirt slightly to prepare. Suddenly, she freezes, startled by what she's doing. Flustered, she tells him not to worry about it. Arima stammers, saying that if she stands on his shoulders, he'll have to hold her legs. She smiles proudly, saying she doesn't mind. Even if they argue all the time, she trusts him. He can touch her. She climbs onto his shoulders. Arima feels his heart pounding, his face burning with embarrassment. Miyahara quickly grabs the keychain and jumps down, cheerfully thanking him. Noticing his red face, she teases him and asks why he's blushing. Flustered, he brushes it off and says he's heading home. She casually asks if she can walk with him, then falls into step beside him without waiting for an answer, teasing him about whether he's trying to run away from her. As they walk home from the park, Arima feels a quiet joy, as if he's found a four-leaf clover. It's just the two of them now, walking side by side. The moment feels special, yet his thoughts are tangled. This is what he had wanted, but now that it's here, he can't understand why speaking to her feels so difficult. He had planned everything, imagined how it would go, but the words keep slipping away. He wrestles with his thoughts, asking himself one question after another, until he finally gathers the courage to speak. Turning to her, he asks about her favorite pasta dish. She appears confused at first, unsure why he brings it up. He quickly explains that he only asked because he likes pasta himself. Trying to sound casual, he says he's a fan of spaghetti carbonara. Her expression softens with a smile. She says she likes it too, very much. As they continue walking, their conversation starts to flow more easily. They talk about spaghetti, sharing small details about their preferences. She asks if he prefers bianco or rosso. He answers rosso, with meat sauce. She responds with a light laugh, saying meat is kind of odd. He admits he doesn't know what vongole is. An awkward silence follows as he tries to justify himself, thinking maybe his mom makes it differently. His thoughts spiral. He imagines Yukihira judging him, calling him boring, and feels he's made a fool of himself. Convinced he ruined everything, he panics internally. But instead, she smiles and tells him he should try vongole sometime. She says it's really delicious, and that she wants to know what he thinks of it. Arima eagerly agrees to try vongole, claiming he'll eat a ton. Yukihira smiles, telling him one plate is enough. Despite his excitement, he feels embarrassed. In his mind, she seems like a graceful vongole goddess far above him. He walks behind her, unable to match her presence. He feels unprepared to be alone with Yukihira. When she asks if he wanted to walk with Miyahara, he panics and denies it, calling it unexpected. She simply smiles, saying Miyahara often does surprising things. Her calm response eases him slightly, though his nerves remain. As they walk, Arima and Yukihira begin sharing stories about Miyahara, her forgotten items, odd finds, and spontaneous antics. Each memory brings laughter, like the time she blew a giant dandelion in Arima's face or left his uniform covered in fuzz. She smiles, saying Miyahara's always up to something. He agrees, quietly admitting it's kind of cute. The conversation flows easily, their laughter genuine. He notices how much smoother things feel when they're talking about Miyahara. She stops and says she has to take a different route. He quietly tells her goodbye. Before leaving, she turns and says it was nice talking to him. She adds that they should definitely talk more about Mia-chan next time. With a gentle smile, she waves and walks away. Arima watches her go, unsure what she meant. Did she enjoy talking to him, or just talking about Miyahara? Either way, he tells himself it doesn't matter. The next day, Mr. Utsuki, the homeroom teacher, teaches history with his usual tall, gentle presence, throwing in puns no one enjoys. Still, Yukihira approaches him with a cheerful smile. Arima watches from his seat, feeling a twinge of jealousy as he wonders if she prefers tall guys. His thoughts begin to spiral, but before he can dwell on them further, Miyahara appears and interrupts him, holding out a notebook with a cartoon doodle. He finds it childish, but quickly shifts focus, trying to figure out what Yukihira and the teacher are discussing. Miyahara explains that she's asking about history, and Arima falls silent, now wondering if Yukihira admires Mr. Utsuki for his knowledge. A little later, needing a break, Arima heads to the washroom. There he notices a book lying on the sink counter. Curious, he picks it up and sees it's about a state general. Just then, Mr. Utsuki enters and looks surprised to find the book there. He says he must have left it behind and asks Arima to return it. Arima hands it over and receives a warm smile in return. Noticing the book in Arima's hands, Mr. Utsuki casually asks if he was reading it. Deep down, Arima knows he only looked at it to impress Yukihira. Out loud, he mentions that he heard Mr. Utsuki had been talking about generals lately. The teacher nods and shares that he enjoys reading about them. Arima remarks that, as a history teacher, he must already know everything. Mr. Utsuki shakes his head and says he doesn't know it all, but enjoys making the subject easier to understand. As Mr. Utsuki walks away, Arima reflects. To teach something well, he realizes one must truly understand it first. The thought lingers in his mind as he returns to class. Back in the classroom, Arima sits quietly, deep in thought. His mind is tangled with questions about how he can talk to Yukihira, about his charm, about the generals, about everything. Lost in his thoughts, he begins to act strangely. His expressions shift without him noticing, and he fidgets in his seat. A few classmates begin to glance his way, whispering among themselves about his odd behavior. Miyahara appears beside him again, holding her notebook. She places it in front of him, revealing another cartoon doodle. He glances at it and questions why she keeps showing him such childish things. Miyahara stays calm, her quiet gesture making it clear she's sharing it simply out of love. Arima, misunderstanding her intent, blushes, but says it's fine. The next morning, Arima rushes out for school. His sister offers him an umbrella, but he declines, saying the weather looks clear. She warns it might rain, but he just smiles. This is all part of Operation Lovey-Dovey under the umbrella. Confident it'll work this time, he hurries off. While he's in class, rain begins to pour. Arima stands quietly by the window, watching with anticipation. Just then, both girls walk up behind him. He turns around and casually remarks that it started raining again. Yukihira comments that the morning was clear. Trying to sound surprised, he shrugs and says he might have left his umbrella at home. Suddenly, Miyahara calls his name. For a second, he looks confused, but she quickly apologizes. She has a dentist appointment, otherwise she would have offered to share her umbrella. His heart dips just a little. But before the silence can settle, Yukihira offers to walk with him instead. She mentions her umbrella is a bit small. At that, a smile tugs at his lips. Just the thought of walking so close beside her fills him with quiet joy. On the way home, he feels unusually shy, his heart pounding even faster than before. He wonders whether this is really the power of lovey-dovey under the umbrella, or if it's simply because he's walking beside Yukihira. His thoughts drift back to childhood, how he and Miyahara used to argue whenever only one of them had an umbrella. The memory makes him smile faintly. Yukihira glances at him with concern, noticing his damp shoulders, and asks if he's okay. He quickly nods, brushing it off and telling her not to worry. She quietly thanks him. He tells himself that maybe, just maybe, he's doing the right thing this time. Still unsure, he suddenly hands her the umbrella and steps out from under it, saying her house is close and she should go ahead without him. He gives a soft goodbye and walks off toward home, leaving her standing there in the light rain, confused and thoughtful. She watches him go, thinking she should have brought a bigger umbrella. By the time he reaches home, completely soaked, Fuka greets him with a teasing look and reminds him that she had already warned him. The next day in class, the teacher takes attendance and tells the students that Arima is absent due to catching a cold. He advises everyone to be careful and take care of their health. During the free period, Miyahara and Yukihira start a thumb wrestling match. Miyahara wins, and Yukihira praises her with a supportive smile. A few classmates come over to join them. Miyahara looks up and asks if anyone would like to play. One of the girls agrees, and they begin another match. Miyahara wins again. She starts to think that maybe she has been playing like this since elementary school, and perhaps that's why she has gotten so strong. One of her friends standing nearby observes to herself that only Ai-chan might be able to defeat her. The girls admire Miyahara's strength, joking she could even beat the boys. Noticing Arima is absent, they glance around. Just then, a girl bursts in, calling for Arima to join the challenge. Miyahara sits quietly as her friends tease her about missing Arima. She tries to ignore them, feeling a bit lonely despite her wins. Suddenly, she spots one of his classmates entering and reacts with surprise. She eagerly calls Urano over for a match, catching him off guard. He hesitates, unsure if she's serious, but eventually agrees. Surrounded by curious classmates, he steps forward as she smiles confidently, ready to give it her all. The match begins. Meanwhile, at home, Arima lies in bed, full of regret. He realizes he shouldn't have intentionally forgotten his umbrella. Is this happening because I took advantage of Yukihira's kindness? He wonders, guilt weighing on him. He imagines that at school, she is probably playing the games with Miyahara. Back at school, Miyahara wins again. Urano, rubbing his hand, turns to his friend and says that girls' hands really are soft. In class, both girls begin talking about Arima, wondering what he might be doing at that moment. Yukihira worries aloud, saying he might have caught a cold from getting drenched in the rain. Miyahara asks if he didn't go home with Yukihira under the umbrella. Their classmate overhears and reacts with surprise. Yukihira quickly explains the whole situation to them, and soon, the girls begin gossiping among themselves. Meanwhile, at home, Arima lies in bed, lost in thought about Yukihira. He believes she must be worried after hearing about his illness and imagines that she has come to visit him. But when he lifts his gaze, Fuka says someone has come to visit and invites her in. He is surprised to see Miyahara standing there instead. The unexpected visitor unsettles him for a moment. Miyahara calmly asks about his condition and places a bundle of handouts on the table. She explains that Yukihira prepared the notes but couldn't come because she had a piano class. A quiet warmth spreads through him as he realizes how thoughtful Yukihira is. Miyahara then takes out a pudding and offers it to him, hoping it will make him feel better. She mentions that school feels boring without him. The comment lingers in his mind, but he points out that she still has Yukihira-san with her. Miyahara agrees, but she says it doesn't feel the same. Their conversation drifts deeper as she explains that no other friendship brings her the same joy as the one she shares with Yukihira, not even with someone like Urano. Hearing Urano's name makes him pause. He wonders briefly if she is close to Urano, but quickly dismisses the thought, telling himself it doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with it. Still, the words she spoke earlier echo in his mind, and the idea that school feels empty without him makes his heart flutter. His face grows red with the realization. Noticing the change in his expression, Miyahara asks if he's feeling all right. He assures her that he is, blaming the fever. She checks his temperature, which turns out to be normal. His calm return brings a smile to her face. She seems pleased by the idea that he might return to school tomorrow. He wonders if she truly wants that, and she eagerly confirms it, mentioning the thumb fight they'll have once he's back. The lightness in her tone eases his thoughts. He understands now that she just came to remind him of that small joy. A short while later, Miyahara says it's time for her to leave. Arima quietly thanks her for coming. She offers him a cheerful wish to get well soon and heads out the door. The next day at school, Arima and Miyahara prepare for a thumb fight. He confidently declares that there's no way he'll lose like Urano. He's determined to win and show Yukihira. She wishes them both good luck. As the match begins, Yukihira gently grabs both their hands to set them in position. Arima feels a rush of nervousness. He's too distracted by the fact that Yukihira-san just touched his hand. Still caught in that moment of surprise, he fails to focus, and Miyahara quickly defeats him. Chaos erupts in class when Yuki's bento is found ruined, sparking speculation among the girls. Meanwhile, Miyahara admires Ide-chan's neatly made bento, wondering if she made it herself. Impressed, the class praises her, and Ide-chan credits her love of cooking. Yuki explains that her sister had prepared her bento after seeing a new trend online. Miyahara jokingly suggests Ide-chan teach Yuki's sister to help her improve. After some convincing, they manage to persuade Ide-chan to assist, even though she initially refuses. Later that afternoon, Yuki, Miyahara, and Ide arrive at Yuki's home. At the door, Rin, Yuki's older sister, greets them warmly and hugs both Miyahara and Ide, catching Yuki off guard. The cheerful mood shifts slightly when Rin teasingly brings up the boy Yuki mentioned earlier. Flustered, Yuki tries to brush it off, saying he wasn't invited. Miyahara chimes in, adding that Arima had wanted to come but had other family plans. Yuki, clearly embarrassed, points out how close those two have become. She remembers mentioning earlier that Arima had brought a new video game. Rin soon announces that preparations for the bento session are complete. Miyahara, excited to participate, starts looking for an apron, but Rin informs her that she's only there to taste. Feeling sidelined, Miyahara pouts and quietly moves to the corner, where she begins playing with a set of building blocks. Meanwhile, Ide explains to Rin that they plan to use onigiri as the base, with seaweed for the eyes. Rin disagrees and suggests using sauce instead, believing it would look better. A small disagreement follows as the two debate which idea is best. To redirect the tension, Ide calmly asks Rin to start cutting the seaweed. Watching them quietly, Yuki mutters that she would be happy with just a simple lunch. Rin, overhearing, insists that she's willing to do anything for her little sister. The moment is suddenly interrupted when Miyahara, distracted while playing, accidentally knocks over all the blocks. The loud crash startles Rin, who ends up cutting the seaweed incorrectly. Ide quickly reassures her that it's not a problem, they can still use it for something else. Yuki turns to Miyahara and gently suggests that they find something else to play with. As things settle, Rin curiously asks Ide if she's making the bento for someone special. Ide replies that she's usually home alone and occasionally makes lunch for her parents. The conversation takes another lighthearted turn when Rin casually asks if there's a boy at school she likes. Embarrassed, Ide denies it and insists there's no one like that. Rin simply smiles and says she's certain that whoever receives the lunch will be happy. Yuki, now annoyed, scolds Rin and tells her to stop bothering Ide. Rin teases back, claiming stories like these won't be found in any university experience. When Yuki asks what university is like, Rin responds bluntly, calling it a place like hell. As the group continues talking, the lunch is finally ready. The result is tempting and looks even better than expected. Rin sincerely thanks Ide and praises her, admitting that the bento turned out so well because of Ide's help, something she herself couldn't have achieved alone. Everyone begins tasting the food. Yuki pretends to be dramatic and claims she doesn't want to die just yet. Moments later, in a quieter voice, she admits that the food actually tastes good and that she's happy to have a sister like Rin. Ide smiles but confesses that she feels a little jealous. In response, Rin pulls her into a warm hug and declares that from now on, Ide is also her little sister and can call her Oni-san. While the conversation continues, someone suddenly notices that Miyahara has eaten nearly everything. Everyone turns to look at her in shock. Rin, unfazed, glances around and notes that there's still some leftover rice. She suggests they all work together to make more. After leaving Yukihira's house, Miyahara visits Arima. He notices her arrival and immediately realizes she came from Yuki's place. She brings a lunchbox with her, something she and Yuki prepared together. They had assumed he wanted to be with them, so they decided to make something for him. Arima is surprised to see the amount of food and wonders if Miyahara made it all herself. She confirms it through her actions and expression. As he inspects the contents, his eyes fall on a smaller piece that stands out. Miyahara points it out subtly, making it clear that it was made by Yukihira. A wave of hesitation hits him as he processes the idea of eating something prepared by Yuki. The thought leaves him momentarily frozen, caught between nervousness and curiosity. After a brief pause, he chooses to eat it. As he takes a bite, the unexpected taste catches him off guard. The noticeable size difference triggers a distant childhood memory with Miyahara. Arima and Miyahara sit down for lunch. She's made a giant onigiri, almost the size of the soccer ball, explaining she gets really hungry after the sports festival. In the present, he ponders that the onigiri are the most delicious he has ever had. The next day in class, Utsuki-sensei begins talking about the upcoming camp, but the room quickly fills with chatter and excitement. To regain control, he moves on to group formation, announcing that each group must have 5 or 6 members. While the class grows noisy again, Arima sits quietly, listening intently. He begins to think seriously. This camp could be his chance to be in the same group as Yukihira. If they work together, maybe they'll grow closer. He even pictures her saying on the last day how glad she was to have been in his group. But just as he gets lost in that fantasy, Miyahara suddenly appears in the daydream too, throwing him off. He wonders why she's there, whether it's just his own imagination or Yukihira's influence. Snapping back to reality, Arima mentally kicks off Operation Burning Love. Step 1. Join Yukihira's group. Just then, Miyahara turns to him and asks if he wants to join their group. She explains that she and Yukihira need 3 more members. Assuming Yukihira is already in, Arima eagerly agrees. Soon after, Arima's friends invite him to join their group, but Miyahara quickly intercepts, adding them to her own group instead and cheerfully declaring that their group is now full. All around the classroom, students scramble to form groups. In the chaos, Ide-chan's group ends up with too many members, and they decide to draw names to fix it. She loses the raffle and steps back, disappointed. The teacher muses that the forming a group is a meaningful part of the camp experience. Trying to stay cheerful, Ide says she'll look for another group. Her friends immediately offers her spot, but Ide declines though she look a bit down. Her friends smile and cheer her on. Just then, Mia and Yuki invite her to their group, and she accepts. With that, Miyahara announces their group is officially complete. Over the next few days, the group meets to share ideas and plan for the camp. Everyone discusses their roles and what to bring. Excitement builds as the departure day approaches. Finally, on the first day of camp, during the mountain exploration activity, the unexpected happens. Miyahara and Arima get separated from the rest of the group and lose their way in the forest. They both start blaming each other, insisting it's the other's fault. After arguing, they go their separate ways, walking off in opposite directions. Meanwhile, the remaining 4 members of their group arrive at the destination, but there's no phone signal there. Yukihira points out that if the others took a shortcut, they should have arrived before them. A boy in the group says he'll go look for them and asks the others to watch his bag. As he starts to leave, Ide calls out, stopping him. She says they shouldn't split up at this point. They should all search for the others together. Yuki agrees, saying Ide is right. Another boy calls out to Urano, and the whole group begins walking together. Urano turns to Ide and thanks her, saying if she hadn't stopped him, he might have gotten lost too. Ide responds that they'll find the others soon. Elsewhere, Miyahara is walking alone. She's scared, but keeps telling herself she can do this. She follows the trail, hoping it leads her to the others. As tears roll down her cheeks, she whispers Arima's name, and just then, Arima appears. She's surprised and confused, thinking he must have taken the shortcut too. Soon, their friends find them both. They all agree never to take a shortcut again. Eventually, everyone returns to school safely. Arima reflects on how this was only the first day of camp, and he didn't get to spend any time with Yukihira. Just then, Yukihira quietly walks up and stands beside him. Arima feels completely confused. Why has she come to him? Is she here to invite him to the campfire? She asks him to talk about what happened earlier in the day. She explains that it's also for schoolwork. He wonders if Miyahara wasn't supposed to handle this task. She tells him Miyahara forgot and ran away. He becomes irritated, thinking how careless she can be. She then asks how they should write the part about him and Miyahara getting lost. He says it's fine, she can write it however she wants. She begins telling him a story about her sister, who once got lost during a school trip and ended up climbing a tower to look for her group. Eventually, her sister found everyone. Pointing to a nearby tower, she shows it to Arima, saying this is the same one. She explains her sister once told her the view from up there is amazing. Arima silently wishes he could go to the tower with her, but then hesitates, thinking it wouldn't be appropriate if someone saw them together, especially a teacher. She says she's sure the stars must look beautiful from there at night. Finally, he gathers courage and asks if she would go with him to the tower that night. She hesitates and asks if he means tonight. She worries that if they sneak out and a teacher sees them, it could be a problem. He suggests they go on the night of the campfire instead. Everyone will be distracted by the event. She asks if it will be just the 2 of them. He says yes. She looks uncertain and says she'll have to think about it. As she walks away, he tries to stop her, but she leaves. Just then, Miyahara arrives. She looks confused and asks what's going on. Arima asks her when she got there and if she saw anything. She replies that she just arrived, which makes him feel relieved. Then she shows him a beetle. Arima stares at it, surprised and happy. She explains it's small but very strong. She also mentions she's heard there are even bigger beetles in this area. After that, she asks if he wants to search for them with her that night. Arima looks unsure and asks if she means tonight. She changes her mind and says they can go on the night of the campfire instead. Everyone is busy preparing for the campfire that night. Miyahara struggles to light the fire but eventually gives up and hands it over to Arima, who is too lost in thought to react. Seeing this, Urano steps in and takes over, keeping the mood lively. Amid the cheerful commotion, Arima's mind drifts back to the day before, when Miyahara had asked if he would join her during the campfire. He had hesitated, prompting her to ask if something was wrong. He replies that he'd think about it. She simply nodded and walked away, quietly saying she'd wait for his answer. Now standing still, he feels a wave of sadness. Yukihira still hasn't replied to him, and now he's unsure of what to do. It's campfire night, but his thoughts are elsewhere, caught between indecision and expectation. Meanwhile, the rest of the group tries to get the fire started. Urano manages to light it, and everyone cheers. Miyahara pats him on the shoulder, complimenting his effort. He freezes in surprise, startled that a girl just touched him. Ide watches the scene, eyes wide with surprise. Meki glances at her and asks if she's alright. Ide quickly brushes it off and refocuses, chopping vegetables with sudden intensity. Impressed, Maki compliments her knife skills, then turns to Yukihira for her thoughts, only to find her completely spaced out, absent-mindedly peeling far too much off the carrot. Still confused and flustered, she puts down the carrots and stops peeling. They both get scolded by him. Just then, Urano runs over to inform about the fire being lit, and suddenly notes onions are added to curry. Ide looks up and explains that it's because she likes it that way. After hearing Ide's explanation, he smiles and says he's glad she's in their group, adding that the curry looks really delicious. She, a bit shy but happy, replies that she's trying her best to make it taste good. Soon, everyone gathers to eat, sharing laughs and enjoying the meal together. Later, as Arima washes his hands, he finds himself lost in thought again. Yukihira still hasn't replied, and he doesn't know what to do that night. At that moment, Yukihira walks up to him and gently suggests the idea of going up to the mountains alone together. She quickly adds that he shouldn't laugh, explaining that she's afraid of dark places because, when she was little, her sister used to tell her scary stories. Surprised, he assures her that she doesn't need to worry, he won't leave her alone. Hearing this, she nods and agrees to go with him that night. He feels a rush of joy. In his heart, he names this plan, gazing at the starry sky. He thinks to himself that now, all that's left is to say no to Miyahara. Maki, Urano, and Arima sit together, playing cards. After a while, Maki gets up, saying he wants to take a walk. He steps outside and checks carefully to make sure no one is following him. Once he's sure the area is clear, he pulls out his phone and quietly starts a live stream. A cheerful girl appears on the screen, happily greeting the viewers and thanking them for joining. It's actually Maki, secretly streaming as her during a school camping trip. He isn't too worried. After all, the teachers are off today. He continues the stream, playfully making bunny ear signs. But suddenly, Yuki spots him. She stands frozen, surprised, while the chat fills with comments expressing love for Maki. The stream suddenly freezes and viewers are left confused. Maki slowly turns around and realizes he's been caught. He quickly ends the stream, saying it's enough for today. Then he looks at Yuki and asks when she arrived. She tells him she's been looking for everyone to fill out the camp report and assures him not to worry. She'll forget what she saw. Maki leans in and quietly asks Yuki not to tell anyone. Yuki smiles and gently teases him, mimicking his streaming gesture with a playful look. She then apologizes for finding out his secret and says they're even now. Maki, a bit flustered, mutters that if she ever tried streaming, she'd probably be really popular. Arima lies on a bench, caught in the dilemma of whether to go stargazing with Yukihira tonight or to search for beetles with Miyahara. After thinking it through, he decides to go with Yukihira. This might be his only chance to spend time with her, and besides, he doesn't feel like hunting beetles in the heat. Just then, Miyahara shows up and interrupts his thoughts. He asks why she always does this. She says they were supposed to search for beetles together. Arima replies that he never actually said yes. Seeing her reaction, he quickly apologizes. Later that night, everyone is gathered around lighting crackers. Maki asks Urano where Arima is, and Urano guesses he might have gone to the toilet. Meanwhile, Yuki's friend asks about her, then turns to Ide-chan and wonders what's going on with her. Ide smiles and says someone complimented her cooking, and that's why she's so happy. Up on the tower, Arima and Yukihira are standing together, gazing at the stars. Yukihira quietly thanks him for coming with her. Unexpectedly, Miyahara shows up too. She says it was a good idea for all three of them to come and thanks Arima for accepting her invitation as well. Together, they all watch the shooting stars. Still, Miyahara says she actually came to look for beetles, so the three of them head off together. Eventually, she finds one. On the way back to camp, While riding the bus, Miyahara falls asleep on Arima's shoulder. He sits there silently, completely confused, unsure how to feel about it. Yuki assumes Maya-chan was simply tired and fell asleep. Arima, still confused, begins to think that if Yuki had been beside him instead, he might have actually enjoyed it. A girl sitting nearby proposes playing the king's game. She explains that 5 straws will be needed and asks Arima if he would like to join. He agrees and decides to give it a try. Urano, seated next to him, starts feeling jealous as all the girls seem focused entirely on Arima. The game begins. The girl who becomes the king announces that the person holding the straw number 2 will feed Pocky to number 5. Arima draws number 5 and hopes that number 2 might be Yuki. To his relief, it is her. She begins feeding him and gestures for him to open his mouth. Just as he prepares to do so, Miyahara, still half asleep, suddenly opens her mouth and eats it instead. Everyone around them is stunned, unable to believe she managed to eat while still asleep. The next day in class, Ide-chan brings a new eraser. All the girls gather around her, asking if she has written the name of someone she likes on it yet. Arima overhears their conversation. He thinks that if writing someone's name on an eraser could really bring them closer, it would be too easy. That kind of thing belongs to primary school. While thinking this, he writes Yukihira's name on his eraser. At that very moment, she comes up to him. He gets startled, surprised by how close she suddenly is. She asks about Miyahara. He replies he hasn't seen her. She tells him she wanted to return a book. He notices it's the shoujo book. She explains that she isn't good at games, so Miyahara gave it to her. She also states that Miyahara told her that she once beat him. He feels shy and thinks that it happened back in primary school, so it should be ignored. Then she goes off to look for Maya-chan. After she leaves, he looks at the eraser and thinks that if this is true, then his good luck charm is working. While thinking this, he heads to the cooking class, believing that he will now get even closer to her. On the way, he bumps into Miyahara. Her notes fall to the ground, and his eraser drops as well. He starts looking for it and finds an eraser with May written on it. He gets confused. He thinks that if he bumped into Miyahara and this eraser is hers, then his eraser might have gone to her. Now in class, he just hopes it ends quickly. But Miyahara keeps using the eraser, and he feels nervous that she might see what's written inside. Suddenly, the thought comes to him that if she wrote Ma, maybe she meant Arima. He becomes more confused. Right after class, he quickly swaps the eraser and asks her what she had written on it. She tells him she had written Kima on it. She used to play shogi with it as she lost the actual piece. Now that she has used half of the eraser, only MA remains. After hearing this, he feels a bit relieved that it wasn't his name. On the school ground, Arima stretches while Urano and Maki watch him. Maki casually asks the reason behind his actions. Arima doesn't respond aloud, but inwardly he tells himself that he plans to win the match because boys who run fast tend to be popular. He believes Yukihira is coming to watch, and once she sees his speed, she'll be impressed. Urano interrupts his thoughts by teasing that only elementary schoolers think that running fast makes someone look cool. Arima quickly denies having such thoughts. Urano then boasts about his own speed, claiming to run at the speed of light. The two start arguing over who's faster, neither willing to give in. From the sidelines, Miyahara suddenly begins cheering loudly for Arima. Standing beside her, Ide asks if she doesn't feel embarrassed, but she confidently insists she doesn't and urges Ide to show some support as well. Ide refuses and instead tells Miyahara to cheer for Urano on her behalf. Though a little unsure, Miyahara agrees and ends up calling out for Urano too. Both Arima and Urano hear it, and a brief look of confusion passes across their faces. The race begins. Determined to win, both boys give it everything they have. They sprint with full effort, feet pounding the ground and hearts racing. In the end, Arima reaches the finish line first. A group of girls quickly gathers around him, clapping and asking about his timing. Arima, still catching his breath, responds with his time. The girls react with amazement. From a distance, Urano watches with a sour expression, unable to hide his jealousy. Ide approaches him, gives a small smile, and acknowledges his effort. Meanwhile, Miyahara walks up to Arima, clearly agitated, and claims she's actually faster than him. He responds to her challenge with playfulness, and immediately tells her to prove it by racing him. Yukihira stands at the finish line of the race. Arima declares that whoever touches her first will win. As he gets ready, he starts to wonder if he can really win this challenge he just declared. It was something they used to do back in childhood, but now they're in middle school, and this time, he's determined to beat her. He wants to prove how awesome he is. More than that, he wants to impress Yukihira-san, and to do that, he has to defeat Miyahara. The race begins. Both Arima and Miyahara give it their all, running at full speed. Miyahara is fast, but Arima keeps pushing himself. His motivation is simple. Yukihira is waiting for him. He just needs to reach out and touch her. But as he's caught up in all these thoughts, where exactly should he tap her? What will she think? He loses focus. Miyahara reaches Yukihira first and wins. Afterwards, she turns to him and says she noticed how hard he tried. She admits that she's always thought of herself as the fastest, but near the end of this race, she feared she might lose that title. Arima responds that it's not like that. He expected nothing less from her, his rival. Then he thanks her. The next day in class, Arima is sitting when a sudden hiccup interrupts him. As he tries to manage it, Miyahara comes up from behind and startles him. Although he gets annoyed, the hiccups still don't stop. Soon after, Yuki walks over and firmly taps him on the back, but there is no change. She suggests that he hold his breath, thinking it might help. Miyahara joins in, holding her breath beside him, yet the hiccups continue without pause. Miyahara starts to consider that startling him might be the only solution. She asks the others to wait and walks off, determined to find a better way. Urana wonders aloud what Arima could possibly be afraid of, and Maki doubts it's something like bugs. Miyahara comments that anything that might make him jump can work. Urana lightly suggests a slap could do the trick. Miyahara thanks them and quickly heads back. While this is happening, Yuki begins showing Arima a magic trick to distract him. She explains that her sister taught it to her. Arima appears happy, clearly touched by the effort Yuki is putting in for him. Suddenly, Miyahara returns and unexpectedly slaps Arima hard. He winces from the sting and she apologizes, but the hiccups still don't stop. Miyahara steps closer and gently takes his hands, asking him not to leave her behind. Arima responds quietly and tries to end the conversation. Yuki then notes that the hiccups have finally gone away. Meanwhile, Moya tells him not to scare her like that. The next day, Arima is heading to school in the rain when he comes across Miyahara on the street. She's wearing an oversized raincoat that almost swallows her whole. She greets him casually, and he immediately asks why she's wearing such a huge coat. She explains that she broke her umbrella, so she had to wear her dad's raincoat instead. But it's too warm and uncomfortable. Arima wonders why she didn't just bring a spare umbrella. She replies that this option is actually better. If she sees a frog on the road, she can catch it with both hands. Arima cringes at the thought and tells her not to do that. Without saying much more, Miyahara steps under his umbrella and takes off the bulky raincoat. Arima silently thinks to himself that he hadn't planned on sharing his umbrella with anyone. He only wanted to share it with Yukihira. Miyahara starts reminiscing, saying they used to share umbrellas all the time. She reminds him how he often forgot to bring his own. Arima quickly argues that it was actually Miyahara who kept forgetting. Then he grumbles that his shoulders are getting wet. She pushes him playfully and says hers are too. Bickering back and forth, the two continue walking together through the rain. On a hot summer day, Arima lies sprawled on the floor, completely drained by the heat. Summer vacation has just begun, yet he already feels like all his energy is gone. His sister watches him with an amused expression, remembering how excited he had been just yesterday. Arima keeps repeating to himself that he's happy now that there's no school, almost as if he's trying to convince himself. Fuka grows curious about why he keeps saying it again and again, but Arima doesn't respond. Deep down, he's thinking about how he won't get to see Yuki for a whole month, and he wonders how these vacations could feel enjoyable without her. Fuka announces that she's heading to her friend's house and leaves. Arima stays behind, still lost in thought, debating whether he should go to Yuki's house or invite her over instead. She's come to his place before to play games, so it wouldn't be strange. A knock at the door suddenly interrupts his thoughts. His heart leaps with hope as he heads toward the entrance, smiling with the thought that it might be Yuki. But standing outside is Miyahara, greeting him cheerfully and suggesting they play together. Arima is briefly surprised but quickly recovers. Miyahara hopes it's not a problem that she arrived unannounced. Arima reassures her that it's fine, just unexpected. She reminds him that they always play together during summer. They head inside and begin playing games, sitting on the floor with controllers in hand. As they play, Arima starts to wonder why Miyahara doesn't hang out more with the other girls. She tells him that she's going to Yuki's house tomorrow with Aide and the others. Hearing this, Arima quickly decides that he'll go too. He also brings up how Miyahara visits his house very often, and she responds that she genuinely enjoys spending time with him. As the game continues, Miyahara ends up losing. Arima watches her and wonders if she ever gets tired of hanging out so much. She admits she might, if she visited every single day, but adds that his family doesn't stop her from playing games all day or pressure her to do homework, so maybe not. Arima playfully accuses her of having a plan, and Miyahara responds with a grin, listing out all the things she wants to do this summer. She has a long list: watching movies, playing 100 rounds of shogi, card games, catching crayfish, watching horror movies in Arima's room, water fights, soccer, badminton, and building an endless tower of ice creams. Arima raises a brow, wondering if it's all a bit too much. But Miyahara laughs and brings up their adventure last summer when they rode bicycles together. Arima nods as he remembers. They had gotten lost on the road and returned home late without doing their homework. Miyahara finds it amusing and says that's exactly why she wants to spend this summer just playing games. She remarks that if they keep spending time like this, summer will end before they know it. Suddenly, she pauses, realizing there was something she meant to say but forgot. Before she can remember, they get caught up in their conversation again, continuing to play while laughter fills the room. After the final game, Miyahara gets up to leave. On her way out, she mentions bringing a badminton set next time and casually waves goodbye as she steps outside. As Arima watches her leave, he finds himself thinking about how quickly the day passed with her. Just then, Miyahara stops, turns back, and announces that she forgot to invite him to the beach. Arima realizes this was the thing she had forgotten earlier. He asks who'll drive them to the beach, but she simply tells him not to worry. Even when he mentions the car, her answer stays the same. The next morning, they set off. In the car are Yuki, Ide, Miyahara, Rin, and Arima, the only boy. Surrounded by girls, he feels a bit shy and out of place. At the beach, all the girls are in swimsuits. Arima feels extremely shy as he looks around. When his eyes land on Yukihira in her swimsuit, he thinks she looks even hotter than the sun. Rin notices him striking odd poses and questions it. Arima explains that he's just warming up. Rin apologizes, mentioning that her car only had space for 5 people, which is why he had to come alone. She assumes it must feel strange being by himself, but Arima reassures her that he's fine and thanks her for bringing him. She then asks if he is going back already, but he tells her he's going to swim. As Rin walks away, she begins to wonder about the rumors she's heard, particularly the ones saying that Arima and Yukihira are very close. Meanwhile, everyone starts playing in the water. Arima joins in, but water splashes into his eyes, blurring his vision. As he blinks through the sting, Yukihira moves very close to him. He immediately steps back, thinking he shouldn't be looking at her from such a short distance. He feels like he's invading her personal space. Yukihira asks if he's okay. Before Arima can fully respond, Miyahara approaches and suggests they have a crawl race. Arima feels more comfortable with her. He's already familiar with seeing her in a swimsuit, so he doesn't feel shy around her and agrees to play. Miyahara then asks where they should begin the race. When Arima looks at her again, the shyness returns and she notices his expression. She gently asks him what's wrong. Arima looks exhausted as she asks if something's wrong. He replies it's just the heat that's overwhelming. She playfully suggests they cool down the water. Both of them begin splashing and playing in it. Rin watches them and wonders what they're doing. Ide, observing the scene, comments that whatever it is, it looks fun. Yuki suddenly remembers the race and asks what happened with it. Miyahara quickly initiates the race again, leaving Arima behind and winning easily. She announces Arima has lost and now must face a punishment. As a penalty, they make him lie down in the sand and cover him with it. Yuki checks on him, asking if he's alright or if it's too heavy. Arima says he's fine, secretly happy that Yuki seems worried about him. Miyahara lies down beside the pile of sand, saying she simply felt like lying there. Arima quietly thinks this feels a bit inappropriate. Rin whispers to Yuki that she should learn something from Miyahara. Yuki wonders aloud if that means she's supposed to join in too, and jokes about whether she should lie down as well. Arima becomes nervous, thinking if Miyahara suddenly jumps on him, he might actually get crushed. He wonders if this is really comfortable for her. Miyahara, trying to be funny, says she'll transform him into a girl and sculpt sand into a pair of breasts on him. After that, Arima shakes off the sand and gets up. Soon, both Miyahara and Arima rush to eat together with excitement. The others watch and gossip as the two stuff themselves with food. After eating so much ice cream, they lie down from exhaustion. Concerned, others ask if they're okay after consuming that much. The two take a short break after a brain freeze. Meanwhile, Ide strangely stares at the sea. When Yuki asks what she's doing, she replies that she's watching the waves. Maybe she'll spot a whale or a shark. Rin teasingly says maybe she will see someone interesting. But Ide only sees people. While observing the beachgoers, she suddenly thinks she saw Urano. She quickly asks the others if they saw him too, but everyone denies it. Miyahara wonders aloud if it might have been a whale or a dolphin, but Ide insists it was something else. Pretending she's just going to wash her hands, she walks toward the beach. The others, confused by her sudden shift in mood, wonder why she's in such a hurry. Ide secretly glances ahead and sees that it is Urano. A sense of happiness fills her heart at the sight of him, but she quickly remembers that she needs to return. Everyone must be waiting for her. She hesitates, wondering whether she should go to him and greet him. She has never even said hello in class, and now he is here, likely with his family. The thought that it might feel strange makes her second-guess herself. Maybe it's better to head back and say hello with the rest of the group. She looks around, thinking how cute Miyahara and Yuki are, and how Rin always looks beautiful and cool. But more than anything, she wishes Urano would look only at her, regretting not wearing the cutest swimsuit. The idea makes her feel nervous and confused, but eventually she builds up enough courage and walks toward him to say hello. Urano appears confused as they both face each other. He hadn't expected to see her there. She tells him that she came with her friends and asks about him. He explains that he is here with his family. Just then, his younger brother Sora arrives. Urano introduces him, and Ide greets the boy and tells him she's his brother's classmate. Urano mentions that his brother is shy around girls, and Ide admits that she also feels awkward talking to strangers. Sora remarks that his brother is actually even shyer than he is. Urano denies the comment and asks her not to take his brother seriously. Sora then whispers something into Urano's ear, causing Urano to lose his temper and snap at him, making it clear that Ide is not his girlfriend. Embarrassed, he apologizes to Ide, saying his brother is just saying nonsense. The two brothers begin bickering, while Ide silently watches, feeling confused. Urano insists again that he doesn't feel that way about her and urges his brother to leave. He apologizes once more before starting to walk away with Sora. As Ide stands there processing everything, Rin arrives and comments on the boy, calling him cute. Ide, startled, explains that she followed him out of curiosity and felt nervous. Rin reveals that she had quietly followed her out of concern. Ide confesses that she lied earlier about needing to wash her hands. Rin assures her she can tell her anything and asks who the boy was. Ide replies that he was just a classmate. The two of them then return to join the rest of the group. Rin promises not to tell anyone anything. Miyahara suggests they end the break and head back into the water. Watching from a distance, Arima sees an opportunity. He decides that now is his chance to get closer to Yuki. They all begin playing a game of shark, with Miyahara taking the role of the shark. Everyone is enjoying themselves, laughing and running around. Arima, however, is lost in his thoughts. He wants to be close to Yuki and talk to her. He believes that if he manages to do that, it will make his summer vacation the best one yet. While he is deep in thought, Miyahara, still playing as the shark, catches him. He reacts immediately, wanting to be released, and after being flirty, she lets him go. The game continues, and everyone goes back to playing. Arima once again finds himself standing alone, his thoughts circling back to the same frustration. He feels that Miyahara always ends up ruining things, and he knows he'll have to find another chance. Yuki notices him standing alone, watching him quietly. Meanwhile, Rin suggests that they should stop playing for the day and go take a shower. Arima starts to feel sad, realizing that he has missed his moment. He wanted to tell Yuki something important during the summer break, and now he wonders if he will even get a chance once school starts. Still, he decides not to give up. Gathering his courage, he steps forward and gently takes Yuki's hand. She looks surprised, and he leads her aside, wanting to talk to her privately. As they step away, Yuki brings up that she had noticed him looking at her earlier. Arima becomes flustered, feeling as though everything is falling apart, but she asks if her swimsuit is strange. She then goes on to explain that there is nothing wrong with her swimsuit, but she doesn't like it. Her sister forced her to wear it, and she feels it doesn't suit her at all. Arima reassures her, letting her know she looks cute. She appreciates the kind gesture. She then asks what he wanted to talk about. Arima, mustering all his courage, finally gets the chance to express what's been on his mind. Afterward, they all return to their homes. On the last day of summer vacation, Miyahara and Arima go cycling together and eventually stop to rest at a nearby park. As they ride, they end up going farther than they had planned, enjoying the fresh air and the quiet roads. Both feel happy, thinking this final elementary school summer break has been truly enjoyable. After spending some time outside, they decide to head back home. However, they soon realize they'd forgotten the way and are completely lost. Miyahara becomes overwhelmed and begins to cry. Arima quietly worries about how concerned his parents must be by now. The two of them wander around for quite some time, moving from one unfamiliar street to another, until they finally manage to find the correct path back home. They're relieved and cheerful once again, but that relief doesn't last long, as they suddenly remember they haven't finished their summer vacation homework. The next day, while playing together, they recall the entire experience and reflect on how they forgot their homework last year. This time, they tell themselves they will get it done early. Fuka, nearby and listening in on their conversation, watches as they continue their game. When she asks about their homework, they both continue playing and simply decide that they'll do it later, believing they still have plenty of time. Yuki sits quietly in the car with Rin, her expression distant as she stares out the window. The atmosphere is heavy, and Rin begins to wonder what's bothering her. Yuki is lost in her thoughts, feeling a quiet sense of regret about not jumping in to help Arima when he was buried. The memory lingers in her mind, making her feel unsettled. She reflects on how Arima recently asked her to hang out. The thought brings a mix of emotions. She felt happy that he asked, but at the same time, a doubt lingers. She believes Arima might have feelings for Miyahara-chan. The uncertainty makes her question whether she should accept the invitation. Still, she considers the possibility of going just as friends. After all, they share a good friendship, and spending time together in that way might be fine. At the same time, Arima lies in his room, a relaxed smile spreading across his face. He seems completely at ease, almost dazed by his own thoughts. Fuka notices his odd expression and becomes curious about his mood. Arima remains in his calm state, simply enjoying the idea of the fun that summer vacation might bring.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand,